Good evening, everyone. This week we wanted to do a little different format. We had our board meeting on Wednesday, we broadcast. We were at a live town hall last night where we answered a lot of questions. This week we wanted to keep this a little bit shorter. That way we can all get back to our weekend. With that in mind, I sent Kevin home. I'll address a few things we didn't get to last night in the town hall that came up in our survey, and then we can all go and enjoy our weekend. One of the first things that came up was just a concern that we don't punish a student for technology. So, for example, maybe the student has done all the work and they forgot how to submit it, or they forgot to hit that submit button, or the internet was down that day. We've had a lot of brownouts and other things impacting communities, and maybe the student wasn't able to get on for class that day just because there wasn't power, or maybe there was power but down the street there wasn't, and that's where the internet comes from. We absolutely understand that. I believe many of our staff are very understanding. We'll make sure everyone's being mindful that there's a lot of things happening these days in this remote learning environment that are out of your control. We don't want to punish students who are doing everything they can, doing all of their work, and something outside your control is letting them down. We absolutely understand that, and we don't want that to be a big concern for anyone. Another thing that came up was some concern that in Aries, grades weren't being updated. We've had a few different issues with Aries that we've had to sort through. One was the big password change that we had to make the other day. Thank you, everyone. We had a lot of feedback on that. Much of it was actually quite positive. A lot of understanding. That's not an easy change to make, but for the most part, everyone was able to get through, get back on, and we were able to keep moving forward. Another issue with Aries was Gradebook. There were some things where between Google and Aries that links weren't working. We've hopefully addressed all of those, but teachers are now having to go back and just kind of catch up. So please be understanding as the teachers do all the day-to-day and try and go backwards and get it, but they're absolutely working on that right now. We do want to make sure that you guys are able to track how your students are doing and what their progress is so we can move forward and you guys can be there to support your students. On that topic, one thing that's come up a lot was just the vulnerability we have today to circumstances outside our control with internet, power outages. We absolutely understand that. The staff understand that. And just if you're having hiccups or issues or your power goes out, just let us know. We'll absolutely be understanding. We don't want any kid punished for something like that where they wouldn't have any control over it. Other thing that's come up too, as people get more into the groove of distance learning, we have time to kind of evaluate and think about it. And a big concern that's coming up more and more is the social emotional well-being of the kids, that they're not getting the time to interact with their kids. They can't go run in the playgrounds. And one parent put it, I think, very succinctly, it's unfair. Absolutely, we agree that it's unfair, and it's a frustrating time. As we go through and we manage this pandemic that's impacting not just us, but the whole world, things have changed a lot. And one of those things is we're now on a screen, and we're trying to interact that way, and it absolutely loses something. One of the things we have asked and we push is if you can, put your kid in a place where they can have their camera on and have their microphone on when it's appropriate. It's not the same as being able to run around the playground with their friends, but it's still something. It's some interaction. And we want to give all the kids as much opportunity to interact as much as they can while still following all these guidelines. And through the Google Meets in their classroom when they're on recess or taking a break, that is an opportunity. See their friends, say hi. They haven't seen their friends, many of them, since last spring when we went into distance learning. So definitely try and help us. We understand there's some individuals that are just concerned about having those cameras on. We understand, but try and find a way, because that is a way for your kids to get at least a little something, a little interaction with their friends and their peers. On the topic of the screen time, it came up last night a bit. Definitely, whether you think screen time is good or bad, if you go to Google and you search that, you will absolutely find studies that agree with you. One resource we did come across from the conversations last night, we did some research. The American Psychological Association actually has a page on it, and it looks like it came out in the spring perhaps as a response to this. And for them, the biggest concerns they brought up was not so much the amount of screen time, but what the screen time was. And instruction was something that they don't actually count towards screen time. Last night at the town hall, Kevin joked about how much time's on Fortnite, and that really is kind of the focus, is making sure that when they're on a screen, it's a productive time. And we don't know. There are a lot of studies going on now about the long-term effects, but right now we either have the option to do distance learning or nothing at all. And we think first and foremost we need to be doing learning, having instruction, and doing the most we can with the resources and the restrictions we have in place. And so today that's distance learning, and that's your kids can interact over Google Meets and other resources like that are online. When we have the opportunity to do more, we absolutely will start doing that once it's safe to do so. And we monitor every day what the guidance is and see if there's any changes so that we can start formulating those plans once it looks like things are ready to open up again. But I do encourage anyone who's worried about the screen time, you can go on, look at that study, look at the research. And I think a lot of it comes down to just making sure that the time they are on screens is productive, they're learning, and making sure that they get out and go for a walk or do something like that, get some physical time in every day too. We have PE and other things, but go for a family walk in the evening perhaps, or something like that, to just get out of the house and get away from the screens. I think everyone these days could use a break from walk away from their screens. Even as I talk to you here, we've got the laptop, we've got the camera, and everyone spends a lot of their time staring at a screen these days. We did want to touch as well on tutoring options. We are absolutely researching, trying to find more options to give students and parents more support with tutoring. We're exploring resources now and trying to open up some programs. We did have some programs that were in the works before we went to distance learning. Those programs were really designed to be in-person programs though, and so a lot of them were put on hold, and we're pushing to see if maybe there's a way for them to try and spool them back up to be a digital component or a digital option where we can do it over Zoom or Meets or something. So it's not something that's forgotten, and we will absolutely keep looking for more resources out there to help your students and help you guys. Last two things I want to touch on. We have reached out to Spectrum. We understand that not all of the people who are eligible for the modems have received them yet. We are absolutely pushing on Spectrum to try and get those out as quick as possible. I think this is very much one of those scenarios where the demand probably was a lot greater than they'd expected, and these devices are going throughout California and most likely throughout the nation. So things are a bit delayed from what we had expected. We will absolutely keep pushing and advocating to get those out to you guys as soon as possible. If you are in those circumstances or you're struggling with technology, just please reach out to your teachers, let them know. They're letting us know so we can track as well and keep the pressure on, but that way we're accommodating and we're not holding you accountable for the fact that you are struggling with that technology, and we can find alternative things to do and help keep you along until we get that technology out to you. Last, I do want to remind everyone we are serving meals. We're serving them on base at Desert. We're serving them at North Edwards at the district office. We're serving them at West Boron and Boron High School. Right now, they do follow the free reduced full pay standard. So new guidance has come out that we're evaluating to potentially open up some of the sites for the high need kids. We'll let you know once we understand that guidance and make sure we're following all the laws. That's everything for this week. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and we will touch base next week. And like I said, if you have anything you missed this week, we'll try and make sure we get to it next week. Have a good weekend.